What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, I thought it might be fun to talk about some questions that could be worth asking before becoming a therapist. And particularly, I'm going to focus on some questions that I thought might have been helpful for me to ask before becoming a therapist. Now, spoiler alert, I love being a therapist so much. So if I had gone back and asked these questions before going into graduate school, I still would have had an emphatic yes, but there are so many people that I'm hearing from who are at least questioning their choice of becoming a therapist, pivoting out of becoming a therapist now that you know what it's like, or just trying to find alternatives because maybe there's aspects about this profession that you just didn't anticipate. It's not going the way you thought. And so for any of you who are thinking about becoming a therapist, here's some questions to consider before diving in, just to help you be more informed as you go through this process. The first question I think anyone should ask before embarking on any career endeavor, and that's, why do I want this? Why do you want to be a therapist? I know when I ask other people this question, the answer is because I want to help people, which 100%. If you don't want to help people, this is not the profession for you, let me tell you. But also there's a lot of people who want to help other people for whom this profession may not be the best fit. And there's a whole lot of things you can do to help people. Arguably, almost any service profession is a space for you to help people, or you could be a teacher. Being a checker at the grocery store is helping people. So you got to get a little bit more specific about it, in my opinion. And I think what happens is most people have a much more specific, deep answer than just, I want to help people, but we just haven't quite identified all of those specifics for ourselves just yet in our conscious mind. And I think it's really helpful to call all of those reasons that we can find to our conscious mind so we can really consider, is this profession a good fit for all those very specific ways that I might like to help people? Especially now that I'm on the other side of this and I've been doing this for a while, one important aspect of being a therapist is being okay with knowing that not all of your clients are going to improve, even if you're somehow doing your darndest best. That's just the nature of the thing. So if you are someone who really feels like you need everyone to actually, quote unquote, get better or find the work that you're doing helpful for them, then you really might want to think that through. What are you going to do with the fact that not everyone's going to get better? Is it still worth it to you to step into this profession then? This is anecdotal. It's something I've observed in myself, but I'll name it here because I've definitely watched it happen in colleagues as well. That for me personally, one of the most important reasons why I stay in this profession is not just because I like helping people, though I do. It's not just because I like talking to people, though I do, but it's because I find this profession just inherently very interesting. If you don't find the psychological concepts interesting, how the mind works interesting, how our values translate into behaviors and how we can choose things that don't align with who we say we are, who we think we are, and all the mechanisms kind of going on that impact how we feel and how we live our lives as humans, then I think it is going to be a little bit more of an uphill, walk to find this profession worthwhile. Now, to be clear, I know plenty of therapists who don't have quite that same level of fascination in the human brain and still would choose this profession again. But just for me, I've found that drive is so strong that it kind of supersedes every other reason and makes me think that I'm going to still be doing this even when I'm well past the age of retirement, as long as my mind and my body allow me to, because I'm obsessed. The next question I'd want to ask before diving into this career is it intrinsically rewarding to talk to people all day? And when I ask this question, I'm specifically referring to talking to people all day about themselves and not about you. And I think that's where sometimes the mix-up can happen for folks is they go, oh, I love talking to people. I could do it all day long, and I do. And then they become a therapist and do it for a while and find that it's maybe feeling a little bit more like a grind. Most of the time when we talk to other people outside of the therapy context, we're also talking about ourselves too. When you're a therapist, you're not going to be talking about yourself except for in very specific, intentional situations. Your focus is laser focused on the other person, and it's not about you. And so it's really important to take that variable into account. Are you willing to talk to people about them? all day long. And another little side thought I'd add on to this is that a lot of therapists over time are probably not going to be seeing 20 plus clients a week and thriving for their entire career. I'm just saying. There are some of you who that's you and you're all in, and more power to you, but that's certainly not going to be 100% of therapists, and it might not even be the majority of therapists from my perspective. So when you ask this question about whether it's intrinsically enjoyable for you to talk to people all day, it's okay to wear the hat of thinking of it as, you're going to be doing that for a lot of graduate school and your post-grad training and potentially bits of your earlier career. And then you can kind of branch out over time. You don't have to talk to people all day long for the rest of your career. And the last question that I wish I would have asked before becoming a therapist is, do I have a financial plan for all the years of training? And I'm not saying that to add any kind of doom and gloom to you to say, it's expensive and your income is delayed, so therefore don't enter this profession. But it is a reality. And I think if you can have that answered at least a little bit before you enter into the profession, it's only going to help you feel more equipped, more empowered to move through the grueling training process a little bit more smoothly. I think this path is going to look different for everybody, so I don't have a prescribed plan to say do this, then that, and then the other thing, and this is how you're going to do the finances. But if you could think it through before you dive into graduate school, all the better. And I do think there's going to be at least some people who do the math and think, you know what? I'm actually good. I may not want to choose into this path that's going to cost me a lot upfront financially, when maybe there's another viable path that's going to cost me less upfront financially, but bring me just as much joy, or maybe more joy, who knows, or just knowing that, I can start saving for retirement or for buying that house or whatever other things that you want to prioritize might just take a higher value priority level in your mind. By all means, pivot. Save yourself the time and money from going down the path part way and then potentially regretting the decision or, backing out part way through, which is something that happens quite often, as we've talked about before. Now, I know just on the surface, these are 3 simple questions to ask. It's more nuanced when you're making a decision to step into an entire career. However, if you really dig into each of these questions and let yourself get into the nitty-gritty of them, I think it's going to really help you feel like you're making an informed decision before deciding to dive into the therapy career. And even if you are already a therapist, you've been a therapist a long time, it is helpful to ask these questions, at least the first 2, because we already did the grad school thing. Is this what you really want to do? Why are you here? Do you still enjoy talking to people all day? Are there any shifts or pivots you want to make? It's always okay to come back and ask those questions. You never have to be locked into one way of doing things forever. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform that's free for all users. And if you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. Well, I enjoyed reflecting back on some of the things I wish I'd asked myself before getting started in this career. And if you're interested in the extended cut version of this episode, I also put a poll out on Instagram and asked you all to tell me what you think therapists should ask before diving into this career. And I'm going to go over some of those in the extended cut version. So I'll link to that below if you want to kind of get all those juicy tidbits. And until next time, from one therapist to another, or maybe an aspiring therapist, I wish you well.